You know, I think I've stumbled on a weird piece of behavior that I think only Americans do. I notice that whenever we hate something, we tend to put the word big in front of it, like it gives it a bad connotation, like big oil, big pharma, big tech, big women. A gay lion has been spotted in Kenya, and once news broke out, obviously there were reporters on the scene very quickly and asked how he got like this. Apparently, one of the Kenyan officials says that the lion became gay after watching some of the tourists around its pen. Update on major project. Apparently, the secret plot to dominate the world by creating an army of gay humping lions has not been discovered yet. We'll have more updates on Operation Queer Me Roar as they occur. Been thinking a lot about who should be president in the last few weeks, and I've come to the conclusion that I would like a giant bottle of Dr. Pepper to be president. Say what you will about the optics, he'd make a great leader. So it looks like we might have a new president soon, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm really gonna miss Joe Biden because I love me a good Joe Biden story because it's like an M. Night Shyamalan film. You don't know where those things are gonna end up. So relationships with China are hostile at the moment. Things are different back when I was at the Shaolin Monastery. I remember I fought the great Chinese combatant. His name was Corn Pop Young Fat. And I remember my coach, his name was Sensei Daniel-san, and he told me to sweep the leg. And I said, come on, man, that is not how we do things. That is not how we do things in my dojo. So I remember I reached down towards my side, and I pulled out the Glock. Hear me out. If anybody out there still wants to sound like Donald Trump, the answer is you just have to remember this one thing. You are always right. Even when you're making it up, you are always right. It is so great to be here. It is so great to be your massively popular president. I think I am frankly more popular than Michael Jackson. And let me tell you something about Michael Jackson. I still can't believe the guy was never really black. No, it's true. I saw pictures of him. Look it up. He's a white guy. And my assistants didn't think I should tell you this because they're always worrying about them. And I say, relax. You look like you have Asperger's or something. Terrible disease, Asperger's. And I remember the most horrible story of Asperger's was this man who died from it. His name was Lou Gehrig. Great American patriot, but he died of Asperger's, which is just really sad. Sad. You know, I've been doing comedy for a few months now, but that doesn't really keep the lights on, so I have to take a second job, and I work over at an Amazon plant. And working over there is always really weird because you get people who are always kind of ill-motivated going, but then you got some people who are like, they're motivated, not a care in the world. So I remember I go up to them and I ask, like, hey, what do you got to be happy about? It's like, oh, what have I got to be happy about? Oh, I'm going to take all these presents and I'm going to donate them to the needy and the poor. I'm going to give all those children toys and blankets who can't afford. And they had to fire him because he was supposed to be the janitor. I'm so sick of the Kardashians, man. I'm so sick of all the manufactured drama and all the stirring of gossip just to drive up network for some crappy TV show. And you want to know who else agrees with me? You want to know who else is on my side? Kim Kardashian. Yep, in a recent interview, she said that she's starting to grow tired after digging up old wounds just to drive up ratings for the television program. And that she misses the good old days and wishes that she could go back to the good old days back when Khloe identified as Kevin. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. posed a dead bear next to a bicycle in the middle of a bike track. I wish I was making this up, but yeah, no, apparently sometime in his past he found a dead bear and then put it in his trunks, tried to save it for meat, and then he realized, crap, I can't put all this bear meat back in my house, I gotta get to the airport, so he just took an old bicycle and then placed the dead bear next to a bicycle and then just left it there as a prank. And I actually have a quote from a homeless gentleman who saw this. He said, "It really is shameful what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. did to that bear. I felt so disgusted, almost so disgusted, in fact, that I almost didn't eat the bear." Some weird news coming out of France today. Apparently, a French actor who recently passed away wants to be buried with his dog. There's just one problem, though. The dog is still alive. Why do this, you ask? Well, apparently it's a massive French tradition to create as much sadness as possible, to use a man's coffin to create a, quote, croissant of sadness.
Lampion s'allume sous le ciel embrumé.
Election day really makes me feel patriotic. And you want to know what else makes me feel patriotic? Is that I am one of the few comedians who can proudly say that he has done comedy acts for our troops, which makes me very proud, you know. I mean, it would have been more proud if they were our troops, but, you take what work you can get. A lot of talk about Jewish people going on. I remember I actually have a next door neighbor who happens to be Jewish, and we usually like to come up with little nicknames for him. We like to call him Menorah because they both like to get lit around the holidays. It's really hard for me to go to concerts, especially when you have the type of friends that I have. Like, for instance, I've got this one really paranoid friend who just refuses to go to any concert that has a drummer in it. And he won't do this because he thinks that they're all threatening him in Morse code. If a mechanic ever gets shot in a drive-by, does that mean he's handicapped? Well, Halloween is nearly upon us, and it looks like we have finally entered the Twilight Zone, as it is seen that former President Donald J. Trump has now started working at a McDonald's to help drum up grassroots support for his political campaign for president. Now, while this was indeed spontaneous, it was not to be outdone by former President Clinton, who is starting his own little fast food racket to try and drum up support for Kamala Harris's campaign. And if you want to know more, you can find out more about this at his own little local fast food stand. Catch this nut. Here's an easy trick I learned on how to beat ADD. Well, you see, the whole thing basically revolves around lack of focus, So what happens is I slowly got to train my mind around going around these very little things, focusing on these very little details. Like, for instance, if you look at the warning labels that come on all these conveyor belts, especially if they're non-union standard, and then you just look across all of the different and say, holy nail. I found nail. I found nail. I found nail. So Al Capone was one of the most dangerous gangsters of all time, and you'll know this if you've ever looked at a picture of the guy, because during a knife fight, he was actually scarred right across his face, and that is what earned him the nickname Scarface. Now, according to Al Capone, he actually hated that nickname. Yeah, he actually wanted to be called Snorky, which is way more badass than Scarface, if I do say so myself. And speaking of which, Jack Kevorkian, aka Dr. Death, yeah, he wasn't too crazy about the name Dr. Death either. Now, and according for him, and this is totally what he said, by the way, he wanted to be remembered as Fooper. Dr. Fooper. Fooper. The actor Steve Buscemi was assaulted and attacked in New York City, and he ended up getting damaged all over his face. And I remember I actually obtained some of the transcripts of what happened at the hospital, and he went up to the nurses and started saying, "Oh, doctor, my face, but bruises, my face is covered in bruises." And the nurse replied, "How can you tell?" Well, I hope you guys are having a good day today. Me, it's been pretty wild. I got some family drama. I found out that my mom's sister used to be an arsonist. Great. So now I got a fire ant problem. Stop doing heroin. And if you are doing heroin, cut it out. Yeah, especially you, Phil, in the back. I can see you. Knock it off, you knucklehead. I went to the doctor recently, and I found out this weird thing. I don't know if you guys know this, but apparently there are two different kinds of sugar. There's like good sugar, and then there's bad sugar. And I don't know about you guys, but this really pissed me off because I have no idea how you're supposed to tell the difference between good sugar and bad sugar. And I remember as I finished that thought, my uncle came up from behind me and kissed me on the lips. And all I could remember thinking was, bad sugar. I really like being out in nature, but sometimes the nature lovers can be a bit much, you know, vegans, that sort of thing. And I remember I had this vegan friend of mine that was trying to show me the dangers of meat by showing me this picture, or this video rather, of a bunch of cows getting chopped apart in a slaughterhouse. And I'm like, ugh, that's brutal and disgusting. And then he tried to show me this video documentary of how beautiful nature is with this alligator trying to eat a gazelle. And I'm like, that's brutal and disgusting.